Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I love it. Every time we get together with Kathy D. Carter, she is just so insightful, has so much information for you to change your life and really move your life forward. And that's what we're going to talk about today, moving forward. She's a Reiki master, energy healer, an empath, does so much. And it's great to have you on, Kathy. How you doing?
I'm doing great today, Steve. Thanks. Glad to be here.
I'm going to share with everybody, you're in a different room than we normally do our thing because the AC is out in one part of your place, right?
Yes, sure is.
Interesting. and we're also in a Mercury retrograde. So if you look at astrology, weird things happen. That's the way it is. Yeah. So moving forward, it's something that we all know that we need to do. Sometimes we have problems doing it. What's the starting point of that? Moving forward, it could be anything. Moving forward, from a bad relationship, moving forward with your job, your career, right?
Mm-hmm. It could be, you ask, how do you do that? It could be moving forward from a tornado, a tsunami. When those kinds of things happen, the universe puts us in a position where you don't have much time to think about it. You're going to move forward because you're being pushed to move forward immediately. So moving forward is very relative, many different situations that we could talk about. So you pick. What would you like to talk about? Which one?
Let's go moving forward from, and I hear, from a lot of different people, relationships. We know we shouldn't be in certain relationships. We let them go on for whatever reason that might be. Could be serves you at the moment, could be convenient, whatever it is. Why don't we just step off and just move on? Why don't we hang on to that bad stuff? It's bad.
Yeah, most people do. And I'm guilty. I went through that. It's part of our path of learning. And we hang on to it because we fear change. Is one of the big ones. Another one is we fear that we can't, like if we're talking about moving on from a bad relationship, we fear that we can't make it on our own. And a lot of times, if you're in a bad relationship, you could have the situation where that's what the partner's telling you. You can't make it on your own. And more than likely, if that's the case, that's one of your repeating patterns in life, in generations, that is something that you're here to heal. So the partner is saying, oh, you can't make it on your own, you have to stay with me. And you have the fear of, oh my, can I make it on my own or not? And depending on the partner, they could make it really tough, and you're caught in a situation. But when we don't go for what makes us feel good, now I'm not talking instant gratification, I'm talking about feeling good in life. When we don't go for that, then we're not attempting to fulfill our soul's purpose that we're here to do in this lifetime. And we have to always try to walk toward what makes us feel good. And we have to walk through that fear, because that fear is what I call the victim survivor. And it's trying to keep you safe, but it's keeping you in low frequency. To get to rise and heal yourself, you have to walk through those fears, and it can be hard.
It's like
and we put it off.
It's like walking through fire.
Yes, it is.
That's the first visual I got. It's better over here, but it's 1200 degrees over here. And now you got to walk through that to get to it. Nobody wants to do that.
Right.
Do you think that though people are put in your life for, and it's a cliche, for a reason to make you aware of certain things that you need to heal?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That all of the relationships that that's what I believe today, all the relationships that we are put in is for a reason. There is a reason for our growth and for their growth, the other person. There is a reason. And as soon as we accomplish or recognize or do the healing work around that reason, I mean, the relationship may remain, or that may be the only purpose of that relationship, and you move on. Unfortunately, we're taught in this society to hang on to everything, possessions, material things. We're taught to hang on to relationships. And that's not the healthiest, we find, as we start moving along the healing path.
Yeah, you don't realize it until you go past it. It's hard to even get that
Yeah.
visual of what it's going to be, let's say, with that unhealthy relationship when you move on, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like. It's the unknown, which is another fear of moving on and fear of change.
Yes.
But I've in my journey, which began about a year and a half ago ish, firmly believe people were put in my life for a reason, and they almost like dropped from the sky. Oh, that's interesting. Let me analyze that a little bit. When I put the pieces together, I'm not looking for it. It's there.
Right.
Like I see, like, oh, okay, that's why maybe spend time with this person because I needed them, they needed me, and then we're on to whoever. And then it could be the long-term relationship, which I think is usually the harder ones to figure out. Am I right? As I'm thinking about that, it's like, why did that go bad, and why was that there?
Hmm. A lot of times in my work and in my own personal history, I tend to believe that a lot of the long-term relationships went bad much earlier, and either the people were not at the frequency to want to acknowledge it, or they may not have even known it. I mean, it's very possible they weren't even aware of it, but a lot of the long-term troubled relationships are usually pretty bad early on,
Yeah,
and people just stay because convenience, fear of moving on. They
sure.
know they're uncomfortable, but it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of people on this world that believes that suffering makes me a better person.
Hmm.
The
It-
more I suffer, the better I am. And it's an unconscious belief that's been put into us that we're not fully conscious of. But when I was pulling up my unconscious beliefs, oh, that was a big one. That one, when that one came to light, it just
Hmm.
changed my life.
Wow. Yeah. And then the other one I think is riding right next to that one is guilt. Guilt of happiness. I don't deserve to be happy. I deserve to be a slave and just work for, my family or whatever it might be. I don't, I'll just do my thing. And because we've been conditioned the same exact thing.
Hmm. We're taught to do that.
Yeah.
And it's not healthy, and it doesn't help us heal. And we don't ever raise our vibrational frequency.
Why do you think people, now we're talking about relationships, why do you think people do call it bad things in relationships and try to hurt other people? Why is that?
Most generally, coming from a great compassion point, the people that hurt other people have been hurt themselves.
Hmm.
And the problem is our society doesn't have any classes or teaching, and lots of people are unaware of it themselves. So we don't have enough people anchored in the knowledge of how to help those people. So it's no different than an abusive relationship. Not all the time, but the greater majority of the time, anyone coming out of an abusive relationship will just go into another abusive relationship because they haven't healed what the issue was anyway. But a person that is deliberately mean and does what we would call low frequency things to other people, they're really low frequency themselves, and they're really in a lot of pain, and they're suffering, and they're not aware. A lot of times they're not even aware that when they come up. And I had a client, I mean, I've had so many clients with so many stories like this, where one of the parents would pick them up and hang them over a ledge or something, and then bring them back in and laugh, thinking it was so funny. And the child is just petrified. I'm talking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 year olds. And it's because that parent, who knows what the hell they were put through. and they're just repeating what was done to them.
Yeah.
A lot of times that's what's going on.
And they're just messing up that child for the future, because the
Yes.
age that you just said is where it's all kept in their mind. And I don't know what that child is going to experience. Hopefully nothing, but something that's somewhat traumatic like that. But then again, we've talked before, if you look at previous podcasts with Kathy, we've talked about, you could have heard something from 0 to 7 as you were growing up. Just heard a comment, might not even been for you, but you kept it up here, and that could have clicked your brain and moved you forward. And here you are now as an adult, and things are kind of screwy, and you can't figure out why.
And a common one that popped in my head while you were saying that is, the harder that I work, the more money I have.
Yeah.
The longer hours I work, the better person I am, the more money, the more successful I'll be. And see, that is totally opposite of what we want. And that's not the way to heal. That's very abusive to your body, your soul, your mind, everything.
Yeah. Ulcer, had one. Because of
Mhm.
just that. And it basically was a fear of losing this and this. And then I got to take care of my family. And oh my God, what if? Wasn't even close to a level of, DEFCON 5. But up here, it was like, gotta keep going, gotta provide, make sure everybody's happy. Like, biggest mistake I ever made. Was.
And that's the way people drive. Oh my goodness. Of course, I'm in a big city, but people are in such a hurry. And a lot of that is it's not their conscious choice, more or less. It's because they've been swept up in that, I've got so much to do, I got to keep doing it. And it speeds them up in lots of different ways. And they're just aggressive drivers.
Yeah.
If everybody, I went through this myself. And the more I calmed down, I got there in the same amount of time, maybe 1 minute different. It doesn't make that much difference how aggressive or fast you drive. If you just learn to calm down, it changes your physiology and everything.
Yeah. Yep. You didn't gain much from being aggressive and driving fast, except you just put yourself and others in danger. And, I don't want to sound like your parent, but that's the case. And it's so true. Yeah. I just drove this past weekend, 9 hours one way, 9 hours back. Just took a road trip with some friends. It was all totally last minute. It was fun, good time. But, we're looking at the, ETA coming back with the traffic. The fun part was finding other routes. And guess what? To your point, not taking the main road where 4 different states were dumping off into, and it's the one that everybody goes on. My friend and I looked at this other route, and it was the country roads, but you could still drive relatively fast on these country roads, had all the scenery, was cranking up music, and got there faster. Like, we weren't even trying. Yeah. And it's you know what? We were moving forward. We looked for a different path to move forward. And you could even see the traffic all backed up, and we're like, yeah, see that on the bridge? That's not us. It could have been. Yeah. How do you find different paths to move forward? I think could be a powerful way to look at things.
Yes, that's a very good question. So you ask for help. That's one of the big ones that most people won't do. They won't ask for help. Of course, you can Google for help, and try to find different articles, and trust your intuition if you're on a journey like this. Trust your intuition. And so many people don't understand, because that's a process too of getting in touch with your intuition. But if you go in a bookstore and you're searching for something that's going to help you, and you go up and you pull this book out, and you just kind of have a feel, don't ignore that. That means that's probably the book for you that you need to look at. It may not be the whole book, but there may be something very important in there.
Yep.
Some books you just open up and read a paragraph, and that's all you need out of them. But you need to follow your intuition. And when you're asking for help, one of the best things to do is go to people that you respect, admire, you feel that they're doing better in that area, and ask them. Just say, this is my situation. What would you advise? Because we have to have some support and guidance. Because lots of times when we're not totally aware of what's going on, it's very hard to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. And you get a different view of things when you talk to somebody else. Yeah, but
Yes.
I love what you just said, Kathy. By the way, we're talking with Kathy D. Carter. You can find her at kathydcarter.com. That's Kathy with a K, Carter with a C. She is a energy healer, a life coach. You're an empath. You do everything. Reiki master. The intuitive part of which I believe you are. And people say I have a little bit of something going on there. And
You do.
back to my drive. As we're driving, if there's a car in back of me, actually SUV with a bunch of people, and it's like the decision was made, like, yeah, we really should go to the bathroom sometime soon because once we get past this, it's going to be a lot of traffic. And as I'm driving, I was feeling that exit right there, and everybody's like, "No, we're going to get off the road. It's going to be something." No, this is exit 8. Go. They followed. Made 3 turns. There was a small hotel. We're going to run in, use that bathroom right there. Nobody even said a word. Back in the car, back on the highway. We didn't waste more than like 12 minutes. And I felt it. And I said, sorry, that's it. It said go. And I didn't ignore it. I didn't ignore it.
Mhm. Oh, as much practice as I've had, I've ignored several lately. And I think it's because lots of times you go through shifts in your healing, and you'll be tested. And my intuition I knew what it was telling me, but I rationalized it away. And now I am, what would you say, figuring out how to move forward out of the choice I made because I didn't listen to my intuition. Your intuition will always lead you the straightest, most direct path, but that's also the most difficult sometimes. And you may fear a way and take a detour. Nothing wrong with that. You learn stuff on the detour. So don't beat yourself up because you didn't do what you thought you should have. Just try to remember that the intuition is your higher self there to guide you. And if you pay attention to it, the more that you can pay attention to it, the smoother that you move through life.
There might be a speed bump along the way because you took the most direct route. So in your situation, yes, the recent one, Kathy, where you ignored your intuition, did you see the other outcome? And did you say to yourself, yeesh, I should have went that way. Should have did that. Was it pretty clear?
No, it wasn't that. No.
Okay.
This one was a situation where I received, I'll be very careful here. I received some money from an estate closing, and they were 2-party checks, meaning the person they were issued to had signed the back and made it payable to me. My body even screamed at me, oh, we can't, because it was sent to me from the court. 2 attorneys were present, the whole bit. It was sent to me, and I opened that up and I think, what were they thinking? And they're from a small area. Everybody knows everybody. It wouldn't have been a big deal up there. I look at this and my intuition says, no, don't even try it. Well, I talked myself out of it. It came from the court. There were 2 attorneys present. Surely they knew what they were doing. They know more than you do. So I take the checks to the bank. Bank accepts them. Bank holds it for the 5 days. They told me that. I took all the court papers with me. She said, no problem. They'll contact you if they've got a problem. Put it in my account. And lo and behold, after the 5 days, there it is. It's in my account. I saw it. A few days later, my account is 0 and closed. And here I am over a month later, and I still don't have my money.
And what would have been the flip side of that?
I would have sent them back to the estate, and I would have said, I can't take 2-party checks. Get me different money.
Interesting. Now, you wouldn't have really known because the person at the bank said, yep, no problem. We got that. You're all good to go. But inside you were hearing,
Yep.
And that wouldn't have been the easiest route. Wow. Interesting. Yeah. Well, Listen, Kathy, and we have no secrets. This is all transparent. We're live here and had a court situation today, and was going to move in one or two different directions. And I've been in this situation somewhat before in my situation. That makes sense.
Uh-huh.
And this is a recent update on something that shouldn't have taken place. Not me. Somebody's doing something they shouldn't do. And I'm leaning back on it, and my gut is telling me, "Yeah, don't do it right now. Wait on that. Wait on that." And that's what it's saying. So, you gotta trust. I'm trusting, and I think I made the right choice there. It's not momentous, but I think we've said before, when it feels light, it's right. When it's heavy, it's a bad decision.
That's can be a very good guideline, but it's not always true, because a lot of warriors, they're made different than a lot of people on the planet. And the warriors tend to trust people. They just trust them. They give them the benefit of the doubt. They say, okay, I'm going to do this, this, and this for you. And you got to decide right now. And you take your moment and you think and you say, okay. And then they don't follow through. But did you get a contract? No, because warriors aren't those kinds of people. Warriors are the kind that take you for your word. They take what you're saying is what's going to happen.
Yep.
And warriors are they're just a different kind of person. And I'm not saying that this doesn't happen. Other people can't do the same thing, but warriors are the ones that's here on the planet to help change this society, because the society, like what I was talking about, this bank did not care. They told me it was my responsibility for any bounce checks, for any transactions that weren't sent out. Any of that kind of stuff was my problem. I'm just so thankful I didn't have all my money in one account. I still would not have my money.
I can't believe that they closed your account.
I know, I can't either. No, neither can anyone else that hears the story.
Wow. Interesting. So that's a new one. I wish you well with that. That's it's going to resolve itself, because there's a paper trail. So, but it's just phone call after phone call dealing with the situation, and
they're threatening. The bank has told me, well, we only hold it for so long in the suspense file, and then we send it to the state, and then we don't know how you get it back.
Wow. Yeah, I would be hammering that every day. Wow. And you know what? Maybe there's something told you not to put all your eggs in one basket. So, as my mom used to say that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. So thankful that I didn't do that. But I'm still looking for the purpose of this. I still feel there was a purpose in this relationship. This is a relationship with the bank.
Mm-hmm.
There's a purpose here that I will figure out at some point as to why this happened to me.
Yeah. And that's a tough one. Like what's the lesson there? Don't know. Do not
yet.
Know it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny you should say that, because I've mentioned my mom when she passed. There was sold her house. There was some proceeds that went to me and my sister, and I put it in a certain account, and I don't know what it was. And people tell me it was your mom screaming from up top, change the account and put it in its own account. And I did. And it's the best thing I ever did.
Nice. Oh, yes, I know. Yes.
And it was like a day not even went by, and like, nope, that's in the wrong account. Got to change that account right over there. And that's what it was. And, I went with this, but I believe it was a higher being steering me at that moment. And I wouldn't have even needed to think that, but that's what took place. So you got to trust, or I always say this, if you're looking to move forward in your life, and that's where we started today, ask for help, but ask for help from the universe. No matter where it is, it's okay. Talk to yourself, talk to whatever, source, God, whatever you believe in. You'll get the answers if you're open to it and tuned into it. They're going to come. That's why
Yes.
That's why you have the intuition there.
Yes.
Yeah.
We all have a guide, at least one. I can go into who it could be, but it doesn't matter. We
Nope.
all have someone, and but because of free will, they cannot help you unless you ask for it.
Yeah.
So that's another way of solving that. If you're trying to move forward and need some advice and help, you just sit and meditate and you ask, please guide me.
Yeah. You'll get the answers, but you have to be open to it. And,
Yeah.
We're not trying to make anybody believe anything here other than just, what do you got to lose? We're everybody's energy. We've established that. And you're part of that energy. So put out that energy, the positive, and you're going to get it. It's going to happen at some point, but if somebody needs some more guidance, they can reach out to you, right?
Mm-hmm. They sure can. Text me at 214-245-2293 or go on my website and you can email me.
Yeah. KathyDCarter.com, Kathy with a K, Carter with a C. Always great talking with you. And, I'm trying to get something about your money situation. I'm not feeling it right at this moment. I wish I could tell that. I'd love to find out how that can, and it will get, it's going to be resolved. It's
yes.
It's just a pain in the butt. Like you had to go through these steps. And, you thought the bank had your back, but really did not.
16 years I had that account.
Wow. That's the mind blow right there. How they can just close the account.
Without warning.
And was there something in the account before they closed it?
Oh, yeah.
So
I had my money in there plus the 2 checks I deposited. They took it all.
That's just crazy. Wow.
I know.
Like we said, it was a hard decision to make. It wasn't like you were getting, bells and whistles and signs not to go that direction, but it's going to resolve. You just got to have faith and just, ask for some help,
Right.
because the right thing will always prevail. And that wasn't, but Kathy, always great talking with you.
You too, Steve.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.